Everybody, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast, where this week we have Shane Bacon, a very familiar voice for most of you, I'm sure. Shane is the host of the Clubhouse with Shane Bacon, recently the host of the Get a Grip podcast with Max Homa, which is his newest podcast, and soon to be the co-host of the Golf Today show on the Golf Channel. So, Shane, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast, and thanks for taking the time, man.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, the background's slightly depressing. This is in the midst of a move, but excited to chat. This is like the perfect time of year to talk golf because you can wrap up 2020 and then look forward to 2021. So with not a lot going on, I actually like this time of year in terms of golf talk.
Well, I first want to say congratulations on the new gig, and I want to hear more about the Golf Today show. I just heard about it on your podcast, Get a Grip with Max, and sounds like it's going to be awesome. You and Damon Hack, give us the scoop.
Yeah, so we start early January. Golf Today, you mentioned the name of the show, just kind of a revamped studio situation at Golf Channel and NBC where, Morning Drive, which was such a staple for Golf Channel for so many years, is going away, and they're going to be able to show a little bit more golf in the morning. I mean, obviously, if anybody out there has a newborn kid, they understand the European Tour is on very early in the morning, and it's great to watch, and it's great to take in. So that opens up that avenue, and then we'll come in on the back end of that and chat for a couple hours every day. And I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I'm thrilled for the opportunity. I can't believe they reached out. And yeah, I get to move back to Connecticut. So, I mean, we're excited. Wife and I are getting packed up. We're buying jackets. We bought the dog a coat a couple days ago, which I didn't even know was a thing. And just trying to make sure we have the appropriate things in the appropriate boxes as we get set. And while we're doing all that, obviously we are coming up with concepts and ideas and segments and interviews and all those things for the show, because we're just 3-4 weeks away from this thing getting going as well. So all in all, I mean, couldn't be more thrilled, couldn't be more excited, couldn't be more humbled. I mean, it is obviously a time right now where, job offers, I understand that the world we're in right now, and, it's a tough business. So, for them to come to me, it's just I just feel extremely humbled. And I just can't believe I'm going to get this opportunity to get to do a show 5 days a week with a guy in Damon Hack, who I respect as much as you can respect somebody, but I consider a friend as well. So it's really, really great. And I'm thrilled. I just couldn't be more thrilled for this.
So how long has this been in the works? And then you mentioned kind of, putting together concepts and stuff. What does that look like? Is that mainly you and Damon kind of coming up with your own ideas? Are there other inputs there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, as things go, it's been a month or two where we've been chatting and really kind of ironing out all of the specifics of what, obviously the behind the scenes stuff looks like. And then in terms of the show, it's a collaborative effort. I mean, that's what I've really enjoyed thus far about the team we have, producers, statisticians, directors, everybody has been all hands on, throwing out ideas, interviews. A couple of days ago, I felt like I might have been the leading voice in one of the conversations today. It was one of our producers was the leading voice. So, I mean, it's a collaborative effort. We're trying to take ideas from everybody everywhere. As I've always thought and always seen, throughout my entire life, when I was a kid, into my teenage years, into college and beyond, a good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter who it came from. So that's part of the reason I think I throw so many stupid, dumb, weird ideas at Max in our podcast. We'll be seeing a little bit of that stuff sneak into the show and some of the stuff I've done on social media. And then we have some new concepts as well. So, I've done this before in a different capacity. I was a part of a startup network where all the shows were new. But this is a bigger network, obviously, way bigger network. We're going to have, all the capabilities to interview people we'd like to talk to, get the stories we want to, the highlights, all those things. So it's just, it's an unbelievably cool thing to be a part of a new show. And to see, in 6 months and a year, how different it'll look for all of us, and the stuff that's not going to make it, into March and into May, and hopefully some of the stuff will. So it's just I write down in my notes app. I learned this from Paul Azinger. Zinger's the king of the notes app. Zinger has pages and pages and pages on his notes app when he thinks of something or something pops into his mind. He's always writing it down, and so I've taken that from him and ran with it. And hopefully Zinger doesn't mind that I stole some of his sneaky little ways to improve the broadcasts.
I'm curious what you think will be some of the challenges of doing the live show like it's going to be. Obviously, you've done live golf, but this is kind of a whole different entity. And then, how this is different even from some of the other shows and things that you've done on different networks.
I mean, I think making sure every show, I always go back. I harp back on this a lot with Michael Jordan, and I mean, to compare anything we're doing to Michael Jordan, obviously, is maybe a bit short-sighted. Hopefully, at some point, maybe we could get to a world of his airness. But Jordan was the guy that every single night he brought it, and that was Michael Jordan. Is he always brought it? Didn't matter who he was playing, didn't matter what night it was, didn't matter if it was back to back to back. And I think that's something I think a lot about when we do podcasts, when we do shows, when we do live golf. Even when we would do a U.S. Girls Junior or a U.S. Junior Amateur, and it's not 5 million people or 10 million people watching that championship. But I wanted to bring the same enthusiasm and information and accuracy and stats and all those things that you get if you're watching the U.S. Open or the Masters or the Open Championship. I feel the same pressures, I guess you could say, for this show, because we want to be authentic, accurate. We want to make sure that we're giving the people out there a product that they're excited about and it's new and fresh every day. And that is a challenge, sure, but I think it's an exciting challenge because it pushes us to make sure we're always there and we're always 100% and we're always locked in. And all the stuff outside of the studio goes away for those 2 hours. And we are giving golf fans respectable golf content that they're excited to hear about, that they learn something every day. Those are the challenges that we'll face, but those are the exciting challenges we'll face because, it's your product. I mean, it's you getting to do that. And it's, you looking stuff up and you talking to people and you getting quotes and you finding nuggets that maybe a lot of people don't know. I mean, that's the stuff that's really going to attach to golf fans who watch the Golf Channel and sports fans who watch the Golf Channel. So, I mean, I would say those are some of the things, but I try to do that in everyday life as well, especially in some of the stuff I put out there. So we might not always be 100% accurate when Max and I talk, but we try to be, and I mean that's kind of the key.
You've had a chance to work with some of the biggest names in broadcasting. Obviously, Joe Buck, a St. Louis guy who we've had on the show here. And I'm curious, guys like Mike Tirico, Scott Van Pelt, who you've interviewed on your show. What are some of the things that over the years, I mean, even some of the big time golfers that you've worked with in the broadcast booth, what are some of the biggest things that you've learned from a guy like Joe Buck, who's done every sport possible and, you've had a chance to spend a lot of time with?
Well, Joe Buck doesn't make errors, so that's one thing I quickly learned from him. And it's and when he does, if he ever does, which is super rare, he's one of those guys that'll address it. I think Joe Buck, Van Pelt, Tirico, Dan, when you go down the list of the great announcers, the A+++ crop that's doing the biggest events, one thing that I really notice that they all do is they're speaking the same as they do off air. And that is unique. I mean, you'll meet certain people in broadcasting and business and, in TV and in radio, all those things. And the personality really changes. The voice changes. Those things might shift once they get away from the microphone. Joe is the same guy when you're watching a Blues game as when, or you're playing golf as he is in the booth. I mean, maybe he's maybe a hair more polished when the camera comes on. But, I learned a lot from Joe. I was absolutely floored by how kind he was and how nice he was, how much he loved golf, how excited he was, how good of a golfer he was. I just kind of sat back in awe, and to consider Joe Buck a friend is something. Obviously, as a kid that wanted to be a broadcaster, it's still very pinch me. And then you wake up in the morning when they make this announcement, Mike Tirico texts you. I was talking to Max about that. I mean, I'm sure he has moments where he walks on the range and, a Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson says, "Hey, Max, what's up?" Those are the moments for me. I mean, this was what I always wanted to do. This was the kind of the only job I had circled. I mean, I was never one that wanted to be an astronaut or a firefighter, all the kind of jobs that kids think about. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, be on Sports Center, call live golf, call live sport, do those things. So to have a show where I'm going to get to do this, 5 days a week with Damon Hack, who again is a friend of mine. I mean, that's the dream stuff that you get approached. So I would say authenticity and just being yourself is key, and things that I've pulled from these from some of the big names that I've worked with. And one of the other things that I've always tried to bring to live golf and live sport especially and this was something I saw Joe do, and he does impeccably well, is sometimes it's okay not to say anything. And, I mean, I've had moments in those booths where 5 seconds feels like 5 minutes, and you have to remind yourself that silence is okay in certain instances. So that was something that Joe and I talked about. That was something Joe brought to me, and that's something I think I think Joe does that about as well as anybody in the world, and as anybody that's ever been behind a microphone. And then you think about Tarico and his versatility and his ability to speak intelligently on literally every single sport, and know it like it's the back of his hand. And the thing is, he does know that. That's why it sounds so natural to him. Van Pelt is the same way. I'll do a podcast with Van Pelt, and he starts talking about Keith Mitchell. And I always think to myself, I don't say this, but I think, Scott, you got a lot of stuff to think about. I'm surprised you know as much as you do about Keith Mitchell. I know you're a golf fan, but, you're checking all the sports boxes. And, working with Zinger. I mean, Zinger, I think it was my first championship I ever called in terms of play-by-play. It was Wednesday of the U.S. Amateur, which, as you know, Jeff, there's 64 players in 32 matches. I mean, You're bouncing around. There's a lot of golf. And we're getting a countdown in our ear to start the show. And Zinger looks over me and he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know, a lot of people consider this the hardest day in sports broadcasting." And, I kind of look at him, and he's got this straight face, and he kind of starts to smirk. And you realize, we're 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds from air, and he's just loosening everybody up, And I mean, that again is it's such an understanding of the moment, and I feel like that is a quality that a lot of these people have that are so good at broadcasting, is they understand the moment.
You mentioned that you've always kind of known that this is what you wanted to do. When was it? Like, how old were you when you kind of like really put that in your head and said, "Yep, that's the direction I'm going"?
I mean, 10, 11, 12, I was recording college football games. I was a big Keith Jackson fan, always was, and so I would record a lot of the big games he'd do and then listen to them back. I wrote a letter to Stuart Scott. His grandmother lived in our area, so I wrote him a letter asking him for advice, and he was kind enough to send one back, which I followed, which I guess worked. So, I mean, to the late Stuart Scott, I really appreciate that advice that was extremely impactful and helpful to some little kid from East Texas that he had so many things going on in his life. He had no reason to reply to that note. And so that just shows the kind of person that he was, and that his legacy continues. And so, I mean, I was a kid that was what I just thought talking about sports was the most fun thing I did. And so when I got to make that a job, I mean, are you kidding me? Sign me up.
I want to go back to your golf background, because you played a lot of amateur golf. And I want to get into your caddying background as well, which I didn't really realize until recently, that you caddied a little bit on the LPGA over at St. Andrews. So give us a little background on your golf history, playing in school, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I was kind of a late adopter. I was a baseball player, basketball player, football guy. My dad pushed me to golf for a long time, and I never was that interested. And then when I got to be about the same age, like 12, 13, I started to play a little bit. I got some lefty clubs because my dad wanted me to play right-handed, and I eventually was like, I'm not good at that. So can I try the way I play baseball? And I started to show a little bit of signs of some talent, I guess. And so I played a ton of junior golf in high school. I had a couple chances to play collegiate golf. Ended up injuring myself my senior year of high school, so I didn't play college golf. Went to University of Arizona and was a journalism major. Wrote for the newspaper for 4 years. When I got out of college, a friend of mine caddied at Estancia when he was in high school, which is this unbelievable club in Scottsdale. And we'd sit on the roof of our collegiate house and drink beer on most nights, especially senior year. And we always had this. We're gonna move to St. Andrews and caddy at the old course, and that was our idea. And so as second semester was getting closer and closer to winding down our senior year, like, you want to do this? Like, should we go to Scotland? And so he had a friend he caddied along with in Estancia. He reached out to him, and long story short, we flew over and we got put up in a lady's house that had a guest room, and we'd pay 40 pounds a week and 5 extra pounds a week for her to do our laundry. Sweetest lady in the whole wide world. And we caddied at the old course for a summer. And I came back and started a blog, and eventually moved over to AOL when they started their big sports website called the Fan House. And I ended up caddying for a couple of LPGA friends of mine that had asked me to come out just because they wanted a friend on the bag, Erica Blasberg and Irene Show. So caddied on the LPGA for probably 10, 12 events for a couple of stories, and tried to play pro golf during all that. So yeah, I mean, the good thing about me, I don't know if it's a good thing, but I mean, I'll lean on it. Sure, is I feel like I've done about every job in golf. I mean, I've worked outside service. I've worked in a pro shop. I used to clean golf carts when I was in high school. I've caddied, for the recreational golfer and caddied for professionals. I tried to play mini tour golf. And then, of course, writing, broadcasting, podcasting, radio, all that stuff. I mean, it has been, it has been my shadow for the better part of the last 20 years.
So caddying over at the old course, it just sounds like, aside from being a pro caddy, that sounds like the dream caddy job. There's got to be a story that sticks out, one that you have told many, many times from your caddying days over there.
I had a guy, 7 and 11 at St. Andrews Cross like this, and if they built it today, the architect would be thrown in jail. And so when the Open's there, it's fantastic. Those guys they hit it kind of where they want to. When you're caddying every day, not the case. They don't always hit it where you ask them to. I remember a guy on 7 hit this low screaming hook one day right at these guys putting on the par 3. And, we're screaming for, what are you going to do, right? It's like a low hook. And it just pegs this guy right in the middle of his back. Doesn't react, doesn't turn around, knocks in like a 5-footer. And I just kept telling my player that day, I'm not sure who the toughest person on the planet is, but that guy's would be in the conversation, right? I mean, didn't even turn around, just gets hit right in the lower back. I had a player one time, went to pick up the bag on the first hole, didn't have a strap on their bag, and had also packed all their clothes for the trip in the golf bag as well. So that may be the only time in the old course's history that a caddy was allowed to use a trolley, because luckily the caddy master ran one out to him. Thank goodness, because that would have been a forearm workout for about 5 hours. I caddied in the same group with Peter Thompson one day, which, you talk about pinch me moments. Peter Thompson, was in his mid 70s, playing St. Andrews. I mean, that is,
wow.
Again, diving into golf history. It was pretty special to see that. But, I had my buddy I was over there with one time. His name's Will. And I think Will would admit this. Will likes to pinch the pennies. Not a guy that likes to spend a lot of his money. He likes to save it and keep it, buttoned up. Got tipped in rubles, and the player didn't realize it. So instead of getting 60 pounds, he got 60 rubles, which was like $2 equivalent. So that, as caddy shacks happen, that was instantaneously his nickname for the rest of our caddy days. He was rubles. So, I could go on and on. I mean, on those little stories we had there. But, I was 22, living in St. Andrews with my best friend, caddying every day. And the days we didn't feel like caddying, we'd go play golf at Crail or Eden or wherever. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And I was flipping through my caddy notes book I had the other day as we were packing some stuff up, and just going through some of the names and notes I'd had on players and how much they paid and what day it was. And you talk about a rush of memories just hitting you right away. It was a cool thing to kind of flip through.
What do you think caddying has done for you as a player in your competitive nature? Obviously, I'm sure there's things that you learned being a caddy, paying attention, especially at the LPGA level, being able to see those players and some of the other caddies out there. And obviously now, being able to talk to guys like Max and his caddy Joe and things like that. What have you taken to now bring into your competitive game?
Yeah, well, first thing, and not competitive, just something I quickly learned when I caddied professionally is it is an incredibly underrated job. I mean, it is a ton of work. Those guys are out there all day long, and women, men and women, both caddying, of course, but they're out there all day long. They're with the player next to them. They're on the range. They're stepping stuff off. It was Wednesday of the U.S. Open at Pebble last year. It was late. I mean, maybe 7 or 8. And I just wanted to go on a walk. We were luckily staying right there. So I just wanted to go walk. You know, it was the day before Thursday, the U.S. Open, and it was going to be a lot of work, and we were really excited. And of course, you know, getting to call a U.S. Open is a dream come true for any kid. I remember I was out there, and right there, walking on 7 and 8 is Jimmy, you know, Justin Thomas's caddy, and those are the moments I wish we had a camera to capture that, to remind people of how much it goes into that you don't see, you know, when the caddy's standing next to their player. In terms of what I learned as a player myself, you know, just strategy, just being smarter, you know, not having to take on shots, you know, something Max and his caddy have said to each other. They talk about is if you can't make an eagle, you know, then why try that shot? I mean, if you've got a 3-wood into a win you don't like and you're still trying to hit it, it's like, you know, if you're not going to hit it close and have an eagle putt, just lay it up and you can make 4 with a wedge. So those are the things. I feel like when I play with Max or Joel Damon, somebody like that, I always feel like the next few days I play better, because it's just through osmosis. You can't help but, you know, swing with more tempo and you know, try to play to the smart side of the hole, and then, you know, you end up playing with a couple of your buddies who do dumb stuff all the time, and then you inevitably start doing dumb stuff as well. But I would say mostly strategy and just thinking around the golf course is something that the professionals, caddies and players both do an incredible job at. Is you know, Tiger always said from the green back, and I think that's something that the everyday, you know, middling handicap player doesn't do a great job of. And if they did, they would, you know, drop 2 or 3 shots right away.
How did the podcast with you and Max start? Was that something you guys were out on the golf course playing around, maybe having a cocktail or two, and like, hey, we should do this?
You know, I knew Max and we were friendly. We were social media buddies. I met him at the Walker Cup at LACC. I was covering, he was out there. I think he was out there just because he has the course record. So it's like, he maybe just to overhear somebody ask what the course record was, he could just go, "Oh, I have it." I think that was the reason. But when he moved to Phoenix, we'd had a buddy of ours say, "You guys, I mean, Shane lives in Phoenix. You guys should definitely hang out." And so we started to play some golf and hang out. And his fiance, now wife, and my wife hit it off. So real seamless and easy. And then, would you have any interest in doing this? He said he'd been approached about similar ideas in the past and just wasn't 100% sure. It wasn't a co-host thing, just, you know, he wasn't 100% sure it was something he wanted to do. And, you know, I hammered home the fact that, you know, I mean, we're going to have conversations about golf. I mean, I'm not going to put you in a position where I'm going to make you talk about stuff you don't want to talk about. That being said, you know, I think one of the keys to what we do and one of the things that makes Max who he is Max isn't afraid to talk about the bad weeks and the bad shots just as much as he is about the good stuff. And I mean, professional athletes tend not to talk about the bad that much. And so, you know, it makes Max a little bit of the outlier. So it's just been a ton of fun. I love doing it. He's jumped in, you know, we've had great weeks when he had that great run on the West Coast. I'll tell you, our first podcast was after Waste Management, and he was on 11 on Friday. I walked basically the whole week with him. He was on 11 on Friday, and I think he hit in the water there, and it was like, he's going to miss the cut. And I just remember thinking to myself, okay, that's fine. You know, we'll dance around this. We can, you know, it's our first podcast. And then he played for the next like 39 holes. He played as good as anybody in the field and got himself in contention. So it was nice of him to have that week for our first podcast. But he's as normal a human as you'll meet. He's as good a dude as you'll meet. He's everything you'd want and more in an ambassador of the game, an ambassador for the PGA Tour and beyond. And I'm lucky to call him a buddy. Honestly, I'm just happy that he, I don't want to say lived up to expectations, but I always considered him the coolest dude on social media. And so you find him to be as cool in person, and that's a rare thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, and I believe I messaged this to you, that, you know, it's such a great blend of so many things that all of us golf nuts like to talk about. You get the inside look from Max, and you're totally right that he gives you everything, you know, his good thoughts, his bad thoughts, what he's going through out on the course. You guys have a lot of fun on the show between the flights and the good ideas, bad ideas, all that good stuff. So it's like the perfect blend. So I highly recommend everybody on the show here go and listen to the Get a Grip pod. I'm curious, what have you learned maybe about, just golf in general, but being able to kind of get inside Max's head, aside from obviously you've played golf with a lot of great players, but now you're getting a different angle from him because you guys just get to sit and chat probably more than you would even if you're just buddies hanging out having a beer or so. What are some of the things that have really struck you over the past however many months that you guys have had these conversations now?
I think that one thing I've learned is the golfer speak, like the professional golfer speak. I'm close. It's a process. All of those things that we hear players say week to week. I guess I didn't realize that it was true. I could see Max struggling, with his game or, getting like missing cuts by one. I just knew it was a struggle for him, but I also had seen him play, seen him hit balls, seen that side of it. And I knew he wasn't just saying something. Like I knew he was that close. And so to see, the way he played at Mayakoba was nice, not just for Max to have a great week before the season ended, but to show everybody that follows him or that's a fan, or maybe even a critic of him or a critic of us or a critic of golfers talking like golfers. I think it was nice to show that he is that close, right? I've learned that as great as a life as the PGA Tour is, it can definitely be a grind, especially, in 2020. Life has been a grind for a lot of us. Everything's been so different. All the protocols, everything we've had to do with COVID. And so, that has really been, to me, it's been amplified for people that their job is to travel, right? Your job's tougher. I'm at home. I get to be in my house, in my bed with my family day to day and do my stuff. And if you're a professional golfer, take away all the money they make, which, we all understand that the job is a dream job, but it is and can be a grind. And you can see it 3 or 4 weeks into it, like I said, especially in 2020. And, when it's not going great, I know it's a battle. I know he's battling. I know he is trying so hard to play well. And then again, the things happen and the golf's good. And, it's like all of that whole hard work is paid off. And when you see a friend of yours and something like that happens, you're overjoyed. The other thing I've learned is I now know what it's like to be a golf fan. I thought I was a golf fan. I believed that I was a golf fan, but I've never been the check my phone, have the favorite player, update on Thursday. What'd your favorite player shoot? Where's he at on the cut line? Where's he at in contention? And I am refreshing the PGA Tour app like 30 times on Friday and 20 times on Saturday. So that's another thing I've learned is being a fan of a certain player adds its stresses as much as it adds its fun as well. So I feel like a kid sometimes when I'm checking that stuff, going like rooting for Max so hard.
Well, first of all, I don't know how anybody couldn't be a fan of Max Homa. Just just seems like such a down to earth guy. But it's really been cool. Exactly to your point that like when he's talking on your podcast about I'm hitting it really well, I'm doing all the right things, just not scoring well. I'm missing cuts by one, but it's coming. It's coming. And then you see him go on that stretch of 11 birdies and 13 holes, I think it was, and it's like, yeah, you just see it, trust the process. What I thought was really cool was the junior golf podcast that you guys just released and how you guys had so many different juniors and dads of juniors, moms of juniors reaching out with questions. Were you surprised at how many junior golfers are listening to your show?
No, only because I have had a lot of junior coaches and college coaches and high school coaches send us notes or send us an email or send us a message on our Instagram account and just say, I'm making my kids listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm making them listen to get a grip because to listen to a PGA Tour player walk you through what's going on in his mind is, again, going back to it, is such a rarity. So in that regard, no. But I was overwhelmed at how many just we got, from people internationally. We got emails from Australia and England and South Africa and a lot of Canadian emails. And, I think you do the podcast, you end the recording, you set it to publish, you're done for the day, you go about your business. And you maybe don't always realize that it is impactful. And so I threw the junior golfer Q&A idea at Max. We want to do a beginner golfer Q&A as well in the coming weeks where, if you're new to the game or you've never played or you're interested in getting into it, ask us questions about it as well. Just to give, give people something they can go back to as well. I think that's something cool with the Junior Golfer Q&A and the Junior Golfer podcast is, in a year from now, it's still going to be relevant information for a young kid that is thinking about playing collegiately or is wanting to get into tournament golf or feels like they don't spend enough time on one part of their game versus the other. So, or a dad that has an 18-month-old and he's wondering what's the next steps in terms of trying to find interest in golf for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, which I'm battling with right now. I mean, I take Henry out and just like, if you're on the green, you're not leaving for a minute. And then of course he runs off and gets in the sand trap and plays and you go, okay, you can have fun. That's fine. But at some point we're going to have to actually play golf. So it was fun to do. I loved the questions and I was thrilled with the response. So yeah, it turned out, better than I thought it would. And, Max is excellent at that. I mean, Max is going to have an unbelievable media opportunity the moment he doesn't want to play anymore. When you listen to that podcast and you hear how straightforward the answers are without getting any prep at all, I mean, that's hard to do.
Yeah, that's one that immediately went out to some of the junior kids that I work with, just because it's so cool to hear him talk about, the things that he did that when he was growing up, when he was playing, and you too. I mean, playing your competitive golf when you were younger. And I was asking if you were going to store that in the archives for when Henry gets a little older, when you're dealing with some of these things. How has being a new dad kind of changed maybe your perspective on the game, but also just your ability to go out and play the game?
I mean, I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's cliche to say, I was always a guy that thought he wanted to be a dad, that felt like fatherhood would be something I'd eventually get into. My wife and I, we had our moments where like, do we want to do the kid thing or do we not want to do the kid thing? It has been the most fun thing of my life and it's not even close. So, to get a chance to hang out with this guy every day and teach him stuff and watch him learn. And, it's, I had a buddy of mine just had his first son last week. And I was talking to him on the phone last night and hearing him go through some of this stuff that's, that first couple of weeks, everybody's so scared. I don't know what to do. I don't want to touch his leg. This is normal. It is, truly it's almost selfish how much I love it. It's like, I almost feel like Henry doesn't understand like the joy he's bringing to my life, as much fun as we have together. I just, I put him down at night. Like I put him down last night and walk out and he's on this big hugging my leg thing and he blows a kiss when he goes to bed. And, you're like, hey man, this is like, this melts me for like a week, when you do this kind of stuff. In terms of golf, I think it's just kind of life. I mean, I think, having a child and understanding that all of a sudden, and you aren't that important, but being okay with not being that important, being okay with understanding you're the last person in the family that matters. It's your child and your wife and even the dog. I mean, these people in your family that you watch after and you want to make sure are happy and having a good time and enjoying life and doing their best and feeling their best. I was a selfish person for a long time. I was a selfish 20-year-old. And I'm sure like a lot of young people thought I was way cooler than I was. I am loving the fact that I am not that important in my family right now. That's an okay thing. And my wife, moving to Connecticut, my wife is just, she couldn't be more thrilled to get a chance to be around Henry day to day, every single day and not have to work and get to watch him grow and teach him stuff and all that. So, I feel like the luckiest dude, in that regard. I really do. Not just, with Henry, but with Cindy and everybody. It's so crazy how different your life is after having a child. For people out there that have it, they understand it. And for people that don't, they won't. And you won't understand it until it happens. And the moment it happens, you'll get it. And that's all that we can say as dads.
And are you taking him out quite a bit? Does he seem to enjoy it? Is he lefty? Is he righty?
He's probably a righty. He showed some early lefty signs, which would make his life easier. We've been seeing some righty throws lately, and I put throws in quotes. It's not exactly Orville Hershiser throwing a fastball. A lot of the times it falls backwards instead of forwards. But I try to take him out at least once a week. We do we were doing the push cart, and he liked to push the push cart, and now he's obsessed with riding in the cart, so he holds onto the cup holders. And we just go out. I mean, it's a huge park for kids, right? It's a big old place
Yeah,
to run
yeah.
around and enjoy. And I bring his little plastic club, and he'll hold it for a little bit. But I just want him to be out there and kind of see it, maybe hear a shot or two, and at one point maybe understand what Dad's trying to do. And when he gets a little bit older, go, hey, I want to try that. And you go, okay, we'll do it. But I mean, there's no pressure. He can do whatever he wants, and if he doesn't want to be a golfer, that's fine with me.
How much competitive golf have you been playing over the past couple of years? I know you went for the four ball and played in some events like that. Are you still playing quite a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I played. I had a couple. I played the Arizona Open. I qualified for that, missed the cut, but that was exciting. I'd never played in the Arizona Open. Played in a couple of events. I had to walk off. Going back to being a dad, I signed up for a 4-day event this summer. I hit my first tee shot on the first hole. Was walking, hit a good shot. Was walking to my ball and got a text from my wife. It's like, your son's projectile vomiting, and I've got to go to work. And so I was playing with like a 40-year-old dad and like a 20-year-old just out of college kid. I'll let you guess, Jeff, which one understood my
Yeah.
my predicament more. But I just picked my ball up and I was like, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go check out. I gotta go check on my son. I probably played in 5 or 6 things this year. I play in a men's club in Phoenix. That they have an event every other week. I played in 11 of those, so that's a decent amount. They're normally 1-day events, but you get out, you count every shot, have to putt everything out. So I still enjoy the competitive side. I think my balance is right about 50-50 now on enjoying competitive events and then enjoying the just going out and playing with your buddies or a family member or something.
I'm going to warn you, get used to the your child is throwing up text, because it seems like you get it on almost every single golf trip from here on out. Like, as soon as you land, you get there and it's like, there's nothing I can do right now, but you get the text to just let you know that things aren't going great at home.
Right. Enjoy Bandon. By the way, I've got bad news, and you're like, no.
Exactly. So with the job, obviously traveling has been different as of recently, but in playing golf, I'm curious. Obviously, this is kind of a fitness-based podcast for golfers. What do you kind of do for your fitness routine? Do you have obviously you're a very fit guy. Do you keep a pretty structured routine, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I kind of live by the mantra of just try to do something every day. So, I mean, like today I went and lifted, but I might go to the actual gym a couple times a week now. I feel like I used to lift a lot more. So I mean, I've been doing probably more cardio this year than I've ever done. I mean, I run a little bit, I hike a lot, I ride the Peloton. But I do a decent amount of core stuff at the gym, obviously golf specific, and then I still will do the heavier stuff that maybe isn't always advised for golfers. But I've never, even when I was trying to play, I'd never considered my workout golf specific. I feel like my workouts have just always kind of been, they've been lifting based, and I'm not out there deadlifting. I mean, I'll bench occasionally, but I try to be smart with it, especially as I'm getting older. But I mean, I try to do something active every day. If you're sweating, you probably had a good day. I mean, that's the thing. These at-home workout devices, I know they can be expensive, but when you walk by your Peloton bike 5 times during the day and it's 4 p.m., you go, I can jump on it for 30 minutes. I mean, I can do 30 minutes on the Peloton. So, that's kind of what I do in terms of my fitness is, I'll do a little yoga, and obviously I did more yoga when we could go to a yoga studio. But I just try to kind of stay active as much as I can. I'll tell you this too, Jeff, a lot of walking in 2020 on the golf course. That's something that I've tried to implement is if it's an option and I'm going to have to be somewhere for 4.5 hours, I might as well get a little bit of a workout in.
That's something that I didn't really. Well, I didn't grow up playing golf actually, but whenever I golfed, it was just kind of automatic. You take a cart, you're in a scramble, or you're going and playing on a guy's trip or something like that, and it's like I have really come to appreciate walking a golf course over the past year. It's like my favorite thing to do, and even sometimes going and walking a golf course all by myself is, I mean, one of the best.
Also something I did during quarantine was did a I've never been a big play golf alone guy. I like the camaraderie. I like playing games and betting and doing whatever. And I went out a couple times, played alone. It is like going to the movie alone. Also an underrated thing. Movie theaters, for people that forget, movie theaters are where you could all go collectively and watch a film together. I know it's been a while, but I was a movie alone guy as well. I'd eat at restaurants alone. I never had a problem being alone, but I never did the golf alone thing. It's better than I remember it being. I'll say that.
Yeah, it can be very serene. You can do a couple, hit a couple shots. You can just take your time. What's one of the coolest golf experiences? Obviously, I'm sure you've been to many different places. What's one of the coolest golf experiences that you've had?
I did a media trip to South Korea a few years ago. I actually wrote a piece for the Golfers Journal about the whole experience. It was wild. Felt like an out of body experience. The golf course was unbelievable. It was A++ condition. But I think just the whole experience of seeing, golf in a completely different place, somewhere you'd never been, seeing what the stacked driving ranges looked like, understanding that at, the leveled ranges, there were professional golfers there because that's where you go practice and where you hit golf balls and stuff. So that one was really high up there. Man, I've had, luckily, I'll tell you that Fisher's Island golf experience. And I know that it continues to creep up people's bucket list as it should, but that is about as unique as it gets, if you do the whole thing the right way. If you take a helicopter to the island and get off and play golf, good on you. But, when you do the ferry to the boat and your golf clubs are on the boat and you get dropped off at the dock and the carts are there by 17, it is, I can't remember something like that. That was really, really cool.
Now, have you been down to Sweetens Cove?
I have not done Sweetens Cove yet. No, but I need to go do that. Sweetens Cove and Ireland are my two, really close to each other, by the way. Those are my two things that
right
I haven't done golf-wise and need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a chance to go down there not too long ago, and just kind of a totally different than the Fisher's Island experience, obviously, but it was just like one of those kind of places that, just totally different than anything I've ever experienced. Tons of fun. So, but I couldn't remember if I had heard if you'd gone down there yet or not. But definitely one to put on the list for sure.
Yeah, trust me, it is something. I actually, one of the assistant pros at Phoenix Country Club just told me today that he took a job in Tennessee, and I was like, okay, well then I'll come see you. That's fine. We'll go do like 3 or 4 days of golf once I need to get out of the cold.
Now that you're moving to the cold, any reservations on not being able to play golf? Or I heard you say you're kind of looking forward to a bit of a break from golf because of the cold weather. I don't know if I totally believe that, Shane, but
I'll miss it. I think that with job and how busy we'll be with that, those 3 months will kind of fly by, and we'll be in, late March, early April, and maybe it's not golf season yet, but you can at least smell a golf season. So, not being able to play if you really want to go play is a bummer. I lived in Connecticut before. I lived there during one of the most brutal winters they've ever had back in 2014 into 2015. I remember what it was like not being able to go to the golf course. Also, though, it's been 5 years, and technology and indoor facilities and going and hitting on monitors and all that. That has become more available. So there's still going to be options of swinging the golf club, but in terms of playing golf, it's going to be limited. But when I'm done for the day at work, I'll want to go home and hang out with the fam and do something with Henry. So I almost feel like, especially early on when we'll be at work so much, I'm not sure I'd play a ton, to be fair. I'm not sure I'd go out and steal 5 hours away from being able to do something with Henry or take Cindy out or something like that. So after work, it'll be family time, at least for now. And then when the weather improves, I'll try to get like a standard Tuesday game somewhere, and see what Met golf is like. I've heard it's really competitive. I've heard people are really good at golf up there.
That's the rumor. That's for sure. Well, Shane, as we wrap up, I got a few questions that I'd like to ask everybody that comes on the show. So I'll start firing away here. Is there a golf movie that is your favorite far and beyond the rest?
Yeah, it has to be Tin Cup for me. I think just because I have so many ties to the movie. They filmed a lot in Tucson. I do a golf trip every year to Tubac, or Tubac as the locals say. They filmed a whole bunch of the movie down in Tubac, which I'm going to be missing this year for the first time, which is okay. I'm not sad about it. I'm not sad about missing it. My buddies, the text message chain has had some not so kind words about me not being there. But next year we'll be back to that. But probably Tin Cup, I'd say, is probably my favorite golf movie.
Is there one golf book that you love and would like to recommend to the 18 Strong community?
I mean, any of the Tom Coyne stuff, I just think it's so unique. That the Ireland one, I'd say, is probably number one in terms of recommendations, just because it was kind of the original. Let's go to some place and play every golf course in the country type of thing. So, I mean, he's a friend of mine, but I read Paper Tiger well before I was even in golf media, and remember thinking to myself, well, this guy gets it. So I would say Tom Coyne's books, if you're looking for a golf book, are pretty unbelievable.
I haven't read Paper Tiger, but I've read Ireland and Scotland, and the dedication that guy has to the project, and obviously, Course Called America coming out. Hopefully, I don't know when, but it's just insane. So, what a great recommendation. Okay, walk-up song. If you could pick a walk-up song to the tee box, what's yours?
Oh man, it's, a walk-up song. I will go with. I would probably, just because she's a friend of mine. There's an artist named Maggie Corner who I've known since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and she has one of the most unbelievable voices ever. Actually, introduced her to some of the No Lane Up guys, and they had her on one of the Strap seasons, which was awesome. I think Maggie had a couple of the guys stay at her house, but
Yeah.
music is an emotional thing. It's a personal thing. So I would probably have a Maggie song. I'm not sure if it would fit. Some of them can be softer, and I mean, obviously a very acousticy type of beautiful voice. But I'd probably go Maggie again, just a friend of mine.
Love it. If you could pick a dream foursome, so you and 3 other golfers, past or present individuals, who would it be and where would you like to play?
So my answer to the dream foursome is always kind of the same, and it sounds like I'm trying to be, introspective or something, but I'm really not. I truly believe that my favorite golf experiences are with my favorite people. And so to me, I mean, my dream foursome would be my dad, my uncle, and a buddy, Andrew or Ashton, one of my, or Rusty, a best friend of mine. I mean, to me, that is, when you talk about dream rounds of golf, considering my dad lives in Texas, my buddies, one of my best friends lives in Texas. I don't get to see him play a lot of golf with these people, and I mean, these are the people I'm closest to. So it'd be family and a best friend. Probably Bandon, probably play Bandon or the old course. Bandon Trails. I mean, I think Bandon Trails is my favorite walk in all of golf. So maybe throw me on trails with that group. Would be on a nice day, maybe a vest day, I'd be in.
Nice. What's the number one course at the top of your bucket list?
That I have not played?
That you have not played. Yep.
I haven't played Sand Hills. I've been working on a trip out there. I'm a big Cork Crenshaw guy, so to get out there and check that place out. I mentioned I haven't played any Ireland golf, so there's a few there that I've always wanted to go check out. Crystal Downs is up there. Have not got a chance to play Crystal Downs. So I would say that's probably. Oh, and Pasatiempo. I've still never played Pasatiempo. So that somewhere in all of those courses I named is number one. I'm not sure which one it is.
Right. All right. If you could only pick one course to play for the rest of your life, what is it?
It might be Yeamans Hall. I think it's Yeamans Hall. That's probably my answer. I'm a humongous Seth Rayner fan. Played one of his courses out in Wisconsin not too long ago, and was reminded that this stuff is next level. But I don't know. There's something about Yeamans. I've got a chance to play it a couple times. I actually took the Fox crew out there. Rarely do I get to take Brad Faxon to a golf course he hasn't played. He typically takes me to a place I haven't played. So it was a treat of mine to take Brad and Julie and Mark Loomis and our crew out there and play that golf course. But it's just from when you drive in to the first tee to 18, I don't know, something about it just resonates with my heart.
All right, last one. What's one great piece of golf advice that you'd like to leave with the 18 strong audience?
I think it's something people probably heard before, but I think it's the most important thing is don't hit a shot you don't want to hit, and don't make a dumb decision after a bad shot. I see it happen so often. I'm going to call out a friend of mine. My buddy Andrew Omer, who's one of my best friends in the world, is an unbelievable golfer for a recreational golfer. I mean, didn't play pro golf, didn't play college golf. He's just kind of picked it up, as we all tend to do in our 30s. And more times than not, I'll see him, hit a bad shot and then try to hit a hero shot. Max and I talked about this on the podcast. I was playing with Max at Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and I was playing really, really well. And 18's a par 5, and it's not a great hole for me. I don't turn the ball over as a lefty. So I've kind of got to take on the right side. There's out of bounds right. You can hit it forever left, but if you hit it left, you can't go for the green because there's water. Well, I hit it, 40 yards left of the fairway. Horrible. And I have like 250. I've got a window with a 3-wood. And I am sitting there, like, okay, I can hit 3-wood. I got to cut it over the lake, and, I've got to cut it 30 yards. And I eventually, intelligently, just pitch out, to 100 yards. And I was talking to Max about it, and he goes, how psycho is it that we golfers hit a shot off a tee 40 yards offline and then think, you know what, I need to hit this shot next.
I'm going to put it through that little hole.
Let me hit this window. And so, if you hit a bad shot, you just get the ball back and play, or you're in a tough spot and you don't want to hit the shot, or you don't want to hit the 3-wood to the par 5 that has water around it. It's like, just don't then. Your mind's telling you not to do it. And so somewhere internally, agree with your body and just pitch it out and make 5 and move on. 5s never kill a card, right? 5s don't ever ruin a day. It's the 6, 7s, and 8s that'll ruin a card. And this isn't for recreation. I mean, it's for everybody, professionals and otherwise. So I would say that is, don't even try it. Just be smart if you can, and live to try to birdie the next one.
Very, very sage advice. Love it. Well, Shane, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today, man. Congrats again on the new job, Golf Today, with the Golf Channel, and really looking forward to what you and Damon are going to bring to the table. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Absolutely. Anytime, too. Just reach out. We'll do it. Maybe I'll make Damon join me, or Homa or something one day. But this was fun. I really enjoy it. Like I said, anytime.
Awesome.